And we are live with another broadcast in the Roofing on the Rise studio. Today and every day, we are sponsored by Roofing Supply Incorporated in the Houston marketplace, where you can get your shingles, any roofing products from me. Also, we are sponsored by West Group Public Adjusters in the Houston marketplace. Looking for an awesome public adjuster, appraiser, or non-litigation services? They got it. They got you covered. West Group Public Adjusting got you covered. Also, Rep Card has been going the distance for quite some time now. Rep Card is a digital business card that provides an amazing call to action experience. If you're looking for an awesome digital business card, Rep Card has you covered. It is an amazing, amazing Wednesday today. If you've been following along, you know that we are in number 2, season 2 now, and this would be episode 2 of season 2. Really exciting time. We've got a nice, awesome layout here. A huge shout out to our editing staff here at Roofing Supply Incorporated. And thank you for the support that we have from the management and the ownership staff here at Roofing Supply Incorporated. Absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, Darren Bro and Jeff Schmeckel, for just absolutely being so supportive with this and going the distance, changing things up, constantly wanting to provide something different for the client experience. Today, we have an amazing guest. The lineup here recently has been A-list for sure. So if you're paying attention today, this is one definitely for the books. Daniel Robosky with National Claims Advocates. What is up?
So I'm with Coastal Claims, not National Claims Advocates.
Excuse me, Coastal Claims.
Yep.
I totally botched that this morning.
It's all right. Look,
holy crap.
We know the world we live in, though, right? So it's all good.
I am so sorry. That'll be a first.
Hey, look, it's all good.
Holy crap. Daniel, so do me a favor. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and educate me a little bit more. Coastal Claims. Where did you guys come from? I'm so sorry. I feel like the hugest asshole in the world.
It's all good.
Give me a rundown about you guys and really the sheer volume of what you guys do.
Okay, so Coastal was started about 7 years ago. I merged with them a year and a half ago. So I had my own PA firm in Texas. Coastal had an interest. They have 3 offices in Florida, one in just south of Daytona, one on the Tampa side, and one in Melbourne. They do a tremendous amount of residential claim files every year, which sounds a little counterintuitive when you talk to a lot of other PA firms, because so many of them want to have that threshold where they're like, well, we'll touch it if it's more than 400,000, or we'll touch it if it's more than 40 squares, or everybody's kind of got their bottom end that they're willing to mess around with. They had an interest in getting into Texas. And so we had our operation up and running over there. So we merged with them about a year and a half ago. Now we have the 3 offices still in Florida. We have one right there outside of DFW in Grapevine. We have one in Pennsylvania. We have a satellite office in Denver, and we're getting ready to open one in Nashville. So I don't know. I know in our industry, everybody likes to kind of pound their chest and boast about all the great things that they do. And there is no shortage of just phenomenal people in our industry, whether it's on the roofing side, the GC side in general, the public adjusting side, the lawyer side. I would wager a decent amount of money that claim volume, not claim dollar, claim volume, because we do focus so heavily on residential claims. I don't think that there's anybody in the country that does as many as we do.
So there's not like this certain amount that you go by.
No, we do so many that our business plan and our operation is different than most PA firms. So we can run and be profitable at a very small single digit because of the volume that we do. We do so many claims every year. So we don't turn anything down. We'll take a claim that we'll make a few $100 on just as quickly as we'll take a claim that we make thousands on. It's a little bit different than a lot of the other firms, right? But we're structured a lot differently too. And that was really why I wanted to take the opportunity to get on here and chat with you, because, the industry is evolving and it's taking this opportunity to look at different ideas and different platforms and different ways to accelerate growth and all of that. So what we do, I think, could benefit other PA firms that wanted to get to the next level.
Yeah.
They wanted to learn how to grow and implement strategies to do those things. So if nothing else, that's what Frank Dalton, the CEO of Coastal, has done over the last year, was to bring in all of these people who are good at what they do. I'm not that good of a public adjuster, but I'm really good at operations management, and that's the prior service side of me, right? So, it becomes then a conversation of
how do I talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and then it becomes a conversation of how do I cross level a lot of those things? How do we implement them into a business avenue that doesn't typically see that, right? Because the public adjusting side of the world, and I know Jamie at West Group, great public adjuster, one of the most knowledgeable guys I've met in the country in this industry. There are platforms that we implement that if we were to put into place with a PA firm that is that far ahead of a lot of other ones, it would just be putting fuel on the fire. It's adding horsepower. It's bolting on a supercharger, right? So it's stuff that we're really excited about, and I love operations. That's my bread and butter. So,
heck yeah, dude! I figured out where the disconnect was. It wasn't. It was me. NCI, NCA.
Yep.
And I get them confused sometimes. So for the audience, let's clear this up, okay? Because I screwed up. I have it written down right. I read it right. I just said it wrong. Okay.
Yep.
Two amazing organizations, by the way. If you're watching, I fumbled my words earlier. Two distinct organizations that work for claims, but I said the wrong one. So please help us differentiate with this. National Claims Institute. You're a partner over there, right?
Correct.
So what do you guys handle over at NCI?
So NCI is think about it as an educational platform for our industry. So similar to, if you look at like the Commercial Roofing Academy that Paul Reed and those guys run, right?
Oh, yeah.
They have a very niche market there. NCI was started with the intention of teaching roofers how to properly inspect damage, how to walk up. This is right about the time that UPPA was really starting to become a thing too, right? So then it was saying, okay, let's teach these guys to walk up to the line, but don't step over it. And then at this point is when you need to start bringing in claim representatives. So we had classes from roof inspections, whether it was flat roofs and comp shingles, and Matt Mulholland was here at the time, and kudos to him, phenomenal when it comes to
big shout out
the inspection side of things and interpreting policies in his own vein, right? So then we started introducing other classes, from policy interpretation stuff to just general public adjuster knowledge, to how to prep files for litigation. We did a whole class on prepping for hurricanes because a lot of us within NCI had worked multiple hurricanes. So then as these two were coming into Florida this last year, there was a lot of contractors that were hitting us up, and we just said, you know what, let's make a class out of this. And we had a bunch of people come in. And so I kind of live in both spaces, where we have NCI from an educational platform, and then Coastal Claims, I'm the executive vice president over here, where we're actually handling claims. So easy for you to get confused. And National Claims Advisors is great, right? Like they, again, phenomenal organization.
Big shout out to NCA. I have some golf balls from you guys. Big shout out. Alan Meg, kind of,
who has the best teeth in the industry, by the way.
Dude, he is super smart, well connected. I worked for his family when I first started into the industry. Marty Haight over at RRSA, Big shout out to RRSA and their organization. For people out there that are like, who are these people that you're talking about? Well, these are some of the original founding people in the Central Texas marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Central Texas marketplace, they have made a stamp, RRSA, across the nation. It is absolutely, whenever I say, okay, a hailstorm happens and somebody says RRSA is coming in, they're coming to clean house. They are doing nothing but coming to do the job that every one of you teach your sales reps to do, but
Yeah.
sometimes they fail to fully execute. They do not mess around, and that's something that that I've always respected out of that organization. But anyway, I could go on a tangent on that forever, but that's how I met Alan and his family.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome individuals, super, super, super smart, and they know so much on the claim side. It is insane, absolutely insane.
And that's the
Definitely one
great
of
thing
those
about
guys that I've looked up to for quite some time too. I
Yeah,
mean,
and that's the great thing about our industry is there's no shortage of
yeah,
people who have the wealth of knowledge that are
yes,
willing to put that out there to the industry.
yes,
That's the entire thing, right? If I know something that you don't know, there's zero benefit in me holding it in. So
yeah,
if I can spread that to whoever and it's beneficial, and as an industry we are getting better, which is
yeah,
kind of what everybody's jumping on to do, right? Let's
yeah,
make the industry better. Let's get rid of the stigmas that we've had. So when you take guys like Alan, who he's at every event, every
yep,
conference, every convention, there's 20 other people just like that, right? That
yep,
are at every single one of them. They have a wide range of knowledge and experience in this industry, and they're willing to talk to people. They're willing to educate people, and it's nothing that is exclusive to them, right?
yep.
And they don't keep it that way. And I think that that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I love it. I love being able to rest on organizations like theirs and organizations like yourself
Mhm.
that provide that education for our contractors. I don't know if you know or not, but I'm not a contractor anymore. I just content create and bring on business into Roofing Supply Incorporated. Again, big shout out to RSI for fully sponsoring me in this broadcast. It's
Yeah.
pretty awesome. Um, and so, you know, I used to have that issue running into, with like UPA problems, right? And I trained sales teams for quite some time. So this is a big deal. If you're watching, I've been wanting to touch on this, and I'm talking touch all over it because not everyone wants to talk about it. Not everyone wants to address the issues that are at hand with this and what it could really do to your business, what it could really do to your name. Um, so let's jump into UPA. Um, Daniel, could you explain to us? Because, like, I don't want to be the one that jumps into it. You are a wealth of knowledge here. Explain to us what is UPA? It sounds kind of weird, right? And
Yeah.
what kind of damaging things could that bring if you're accused of it?
So the UPPA stuff is, and I refuse. Like I have this just kind of mental block, and you'll hear people say UPA, they'll say UPA, they'll say whatever. We're all talking about the same shit. So
Yeah,
the unlicensed practice of public adjusting, it is exclusive to the public adjusting field, and because we live in this weird space and where insurance documents are technically legal documents, we as public adjusters, just as law firms can interpret those documents and negotiate the verbiage in those documents. Where contractors get in trouble, and I'm trying to speak is kind of in generalities as much as I can here, and somebody will tear what I say to pieces, and that's fine. But the idea is that in Texas is a really good example and a really good market to talk about why UPPA exists, right? the lack of contracting laws in the state of Texas for guys to be roofers, to be general contractors, to do siding and all the other stuff that you guys want to do. When I first got into the industry, I started in roofing, and that was always a thing. I'm going to eat deductibles, get out there and fight with the insurance adjuster on the roof, tell them that this is damage, even if it may or may not be. Like, there was a very negatively trained process that existed 10 years ago, right? And finally somebody said, well, no, like the contractors are coming out here, they're underbidding each other, they're eating deductibles, they're not holding the insureds accountable for what's in their policy, right? And so the implementation of the UPPA came in, and they said, you as a roofer are no longer allowed to negotiate a claim. You're definitely not allowed to, and this kind of got lumped in, even though it's not really pertinent, the eating of the deductible, because Texas is, especially with hail claims, is a percentage-based deductible state. And it just basically told these guys, look, do your portion of the job, let somebody else do their portion of the interpretation and the negotiation. You're a contractor, do contracting work. Now, this pissed off a lot of contractors because, and I personally know a ton of contractors who are really good at the negotiation of that claim, identifying the damage, saying that it should cost this much. No, this all, it's discontinued. It's a line of sight, whatever argument they came up with. There are contractors that know leaps and bounds more than public adjusters and law firms do when it comes to,
I'd agree,
a lot of these things.
I'd agree, because when they go off and they hire some of these people, this is the issue and the stigma with PAs in the industry, is that A, the PA is not well organized, B, and that right there alone, unorganization with the claim, that'll kill it. 2, they will give it away to their friends, okay? And B, which is an easy thing for them. Hey, by the way, Mrs. Jones, you should not use the guy that you were using before. You need to use this guy. And like that right there alone has hurt a lot of the PAs, but the uneducation has been the big one. Whenever a contractor gets an estimate from a PA and they're looking at it and it's like, hey, you missed the counter flashing and you missed the apron flashing and you missed this and you missed that, and you just keep on going. It's like, hey, I gave you 350 photos to do this. It's not like I didn't do my job right. I knew what was expected out of you, and I'm getting a less than what it should be. And so I feel like for contractors, it's made, and I'll speak for some contractors because I was a contractor for a very long time, it makes us get educated. It makes us go back to the drawing board and learn more because, well, you know what? I can do it myself. Tell me how dangerous that is now.
So I think there's a lot of layers to that onion. So First, let me say, I started on the roofing side. So I've done the GC thing. I went into water mitigation and then ended on the PA side because I got tired of not being able to argue my own shit. So let's start there. So the education portion is only as valuable as much as the people want to be educated. That's the rub, right? So if you have a contractor, and again, Texas is the Wild West, literally and figuratively, right? Guys out there today are a roofer, tomorrow are a plumber, the next day are putting in window screens, the next day are pressure washing driveways.
That ain't no lie.
So your legitimate contractors who, if in the event that the state ever decided to do licensing, would be licensed tomorrow, have to continually compete with the chuck in the trucks, as we call them. And it's impossible. It is impossible to do because those guys are never going to get educated. They don't have an interest in educating themselves and getting better. They're making the fast money. They want to get out there, do 100 roofs this summer or spring after hail season and go home. right? So you guys are always competing with that.
Yeah.
To double down on the danger that exists there is that the good old boy network is so strong in our industry. And it doesn't matter what city you live in, what state you live in. There is a GOB that exists somewhere. And, so anyway, I've used the wrong acronym, but we're going to skim by that. Point being, like you said, they're always going to give it to their friend. It's always going to be, and this is where public adjusters get a really bad name. There are a lot of uneducated public adjusters who, because the license requirements for PAs is just as loose as it is to get a contracting license in Texas. So most of the time they're a figurehead. They're not being used to actually navigate the claim. Roofers will hire the PA as a mouthpiece. Well, that's just as bad as you not hiring one in the first place, because all that's doing is damaging the public adjuster side of the world. That's damaging the claim representative side of the world. And then so now when PAs go to solicit contractors or solicit the insureds for referrals and or the work, we're competing against the same thing that you guys are on the contractor side. Yeah. We're competing against these people who have zero interest in educating themselves on how to be better. They really have no interest in actually growing a business. They're just worried about their $100,000, $200,000 a year that they can make on a handful of claims, and then they're going to go home.
Yeah, because this is a business as well as just so. Like, I think some people like really muddy the waters here, if you would, whereas it comes to what a PA, what they are and what they do and what their organization does, right? So I'm going to give a for instance, okay, because this is very easy, and I learned this. I had to learn this, right? PAs, I'm speaking to you right now. You've got to manage expectations better. I mean, these roofers sometimes think that you are Superman, and they call the next day asking for updates, and you have to go back and manage the expectation again and say, hey, listen, this is what you need to expect. And you are the only one that can lay that expectation or that boundary out. You're the only one. Case in point, I had to learn this. Man, I thought that I could just call the PA and ask all the questions about the claim. Well, if he runs anything more than this many claims, it's a business. That means he may have been there, he may have touched the file, but that does not mean that file lives in his phone and he has all the updates. Absolutely not. There is someone, though, in that organization that has all the updates, all of them. You just need to know who that person is and who to communicate with that person. And at that point, you can then have a successful, healthy relationship between a roofer, a homeowner, a property owner, and a public adjuster, because they have to have a relationship. They have to hear back and forth from each other on some level or another, right? Now, let's talk a little bit more about that, about the communication between the homeowner, the PA, and the contractor. What's legal, what's not.
So there is a weird, so it's kind of, there's not enough case law yet to really make a black and white line there, right? The UPPA hasn't been around long enough. Now, has there been courts that have determined certain things? 100%. But by and large, nationwide, there's not enough case law. That's the general easy term is, we always tell people, if you feel like you're negotiating anything outside of this needs to be done, that's where you've got to stop. So if I'm sitting out here and we're all going, this is all damaged and this all needs to be replaced. And if I'm doing it, it's going to cost you $100,000. As soon as it becomes a negotiation, stop.
I think,
Is
I think
that
you
the
went too
buy?
far already.
Well, and this is what I'm saying. There's no true definitive, because how can you, any state statute, tell a contractor what he can or cannot charge for his services?
Absolutely.
So if we're all in
Yeah.
agreement that the entire roof needs to be replaced, and I say Daniel Robosky's roofing company is going to charge $45,000 to do this roof, and they say best we can do is 30. As soon as I start negotiating, then we're having a conversation. But who are you to tell me what I can and cannot charge? This is
Right.
That's where it gets gray, right? And that's where a lot of contractors are willing to live in that space, where they're not negotiating, they're shooting high, letting the carrier come back, and then going, all right, well, we can't do it for this much. Let's do it. Let's request a reinspection. Let's not argue dollars. Let's request a reinspection.
Yeah, because as soon as you start talking dollars, dude, that's it, bro. Like,
there's a few of those general rules of thumb, right? Don't talk
Yeah.
money. Don't talk money. We can agree that it's damaged, it needs to be replaced, but don't talk money.
scope.
Yeah. So it's a weird space. But I wanted to circle back on something that you were talking about a second ago. You were talking about the communication and setting the right expectation with the contractors.
Yes.
This goes right back to the education side of things. If you're a public adjuster working in a state, you have to know what those state statutory guidelines are, right? So if I sign a contract with an insured, I have X amount of time, depending on the state, to submit that to the insurance company, right? The insurance company then has, by state statutes, a time frame to respond to that letter that I sent in. Just simply educating the contractor on those statutory guidelines will relieve so much tension and bullshit off of your plate. Because if I tell you, Marcus, hey, it's going to be 30 days, the carrier has 30 days to respond to this, you're not going to call me till day 31. You might, day 20, go, hey, have you heard anything? Just on the fluke chance that they might have gotten a hold of you. But if I set that expectation, but if I'm not taking the time to educate myself on the guidelines that exist in the state that I'm working in, how can I convey that to you accurately?
You can't.
So it goes back to the education side of things. That if our industry would be leaps and bounds ahead of itself if people would actually take the time to learn what the requirements are in their state. I was an estimator at the very beginning of my career, right? I got good at estimating because I would sit there and just look at random line items and Xactimate and Symbility and go, what's the description here? What does it include? And then you say, I can use that one later. And then 10 jobs down the road, you're going to go, you know what? I need to use this glass matte gypsum, right? Because if you educate yourself and you take the time to do it, you find little unique ways to get it. And every time I use that one very specifically, every time I've put glass matte gypsum out on an estimate, it gets paid for.
I think
so educate yourselves. That's really what it boils down to.
I hate the idea that a insurance company will or thinks that they can determine price based upon a zip code.
But they're not.
Right.
And this is where everybody, and this is where everybody gets messed up in their head. They're not.
Of course.
They're just flexing their ability to say it costs this much. They don't have to have any merit to what they're saying. It's their game.
So it's almost, well, it's not almost. It is. It's the rule of thumb here that he that has the gold makes the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they've got the gold. They make the rules. I still find it absurd that a insurance company could say and or fully determined scope. I just don't think I do not believe that a adjuster that has very limited knowledge, unless that adjuster was a GC or a roofing contractor, that whatever we're doing, whatever the claim is, right? Unless he has specific knowledge and detailed knowledge about that, I emphatically know they have absolutely no fucking way to determine the exact scope of what needs to be done at that property, period.
Well, they can't even do partial scopes half the time. So,
Exactly. They have
okay,
no freaking clue.
one of the first things in find anybody who has their independent adjuster, all lines adjustment, or all lines adjuster license. One of the first things that they teach you because I went to do that before I became a PA and then I changed my mind. But one of the first things that they teach you is the law of large numbers. It is the statistical anomaly that exists. If we can deny X amount of claims or undervalue X amount of claims on purpose, because if I tell you that your entire roof repair is $5,000, ignorance will allow us to win that argument.
Yeah.
You don't know any better.
Yep.
You're going to go, well, I guess I have $5,000 to fix my shit.
Yep.
And that's how they win. 86% of the time, or some stupid statistic,
right?
Some stupid high statistic supports that behavior. So the carrier doesn't have to spend any time training people, because if the person walking the property is as ignorant as the person who's staring at them doing it, they're winning all day long.
100%.
So
same thing with depreciation.
Oh yeah.
They
how are you going to tell me? You're going to tell me that a roof in Texas that has been baking in the Texas sun for 10 years is going to be in the same condition as one that's been beaten up by the wind and the water in Massachusetts in 10 years? Fuck no. There's no way.
Nope.
So
can't determine that.
Yeah. So you have that going on, right? But then you talk about hell, I had a guy in Oklahoma 2 years ago. It was a EPDM roof on a corrugated metal deck, right? We did a core sample and he got to the metal and he takes his pocket knife out, sticks it on there and starts hitting it with his hand and goes, yeah, this is all rusted. We're going to need to get rid of it. And I said, you realize that's the deck, right? And he's like, no, there's a roof. This is a roof on top of the roof.
What?
And I said, let's walk it downstairs. So we walked down, got off the roof, went inside, looked up. You could see where he stabbed his knife through sunlight was shining through the roof. And I said, sir, seriously, like,
you just paid for the roof deck.
Yeah, like you stabbed it with a knife. And he goes, I was confident that was a whole nother roof system. Even if you were, why would you stab a hole in it?
Inexperience, 100% inexperience. Had no clue.
He was an EGA.
Oh man.
So, but
willingly ignorant. There's this thing in the Bible that says that they were willingly ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
It's talking about the Pharisees and the Sadducees and how they just absolutely rejected Christ. Anyway, that's my quick little intro to Christianity. Willingly ignorant. Absolute. You know what willingly ignorant is? You know what the actual definition of being willingly ignorant? It's literal dumb. Like you're dumb.
Just one word.
It is literally, that's literally what it means. You're willingly ignorant, which means you're stupid on purpose. Fucking retarded. I just don't get it.
I love this conversation because this conversation happens all the time in our industry, right? Flip the coin. Yeah. Contractors do the same shit.
Oh, dude.
And so this is an argument that I have all the time. It goes in this 2-year rotation, right? Every couple years, and I'm gonna talk about this guy, and I mean this with the most admiration possible. A couple years ago, Bradley Gardner ran with this whole lump sum pricing thing. I'll be honest, I don't know the depths of it. I don't need to, because it's not something that I will ever subscribe to on the PA side of the world, right? However, a bunch of people co-signed on it and said this is the most amazing thing ever. Everybody should be doing lump sum pricing, right? 18 to 24 months, now the carrier's pushing back. At some point, the carrier flips, and then the advantage goes back to the carrier side and whatever dumb shit they want to come up with. And then another Bradley Gardner type of person comes around and they say, guys, if we stand on our right foot and raise our left hand to the sky, they're going to pay for shit. 100 roofers are going to agree to that. And I'm not saying that's what happened with the lump sum pricing. I'm trying to exaggerate to prove a point, right? If
lump sum has been in existence for a very long time,
it caught traction. It caught traction.
It just now, right? Or the cost plus model.
The only reason I bring it up is that we get a good idea. The carrier says, cool, fuck off.
Right.
And then we get another good idea, and the carrier says, cool, fuck off. And it rotates like this. And in the interim, carriers doing dumb shit and contractors are doing dumb shit to try and figure out that next big, like, what's going to help us get ahead for the next 2 years, right? I think that some of these are phenomenal, right? I've seen guys employ the lump sum pricing, but again, from the PA side, it does me no benefit. If a contractor says, here's an invoice for 100 grand, it's cost incurred, I can't do shit with that.
Yeah.
You're wasting money using.
Big shout out to Bradley Garner and home team. I think the education, that's what he's done really for the,
and that's why it got traction.
Contractor understanding it. A big shout out because I learned a lot from him as well. Since we're in the middle of this talking about it, kind of name dropped him there for a second. Felt like that was due there.
No, absolutely. And again, look, I'm not saying in any capacity that there's anything wrong with what that does. I just know from my world, I can't use it. And
hey, it is what it is, right? Like, even if you did, I think that regardless, like, your voice has got to be heard. I want to hear it. There's a lot of people that are out there that are listening that they want to hear it, right? But on both sides of the coin there, like, insurance companies, they contact roofers or contractors all the time to do something because they just don't know what the fuck they're doing. And so what does that do? Because they don't have a line item for it. So what happens when they don't have a line item? Well, then you give them a bid. And what do? They accept that bid. And that is essentially lump sum pricing. But there are ways to abuse it. And there are people that are out there that are abusing it. And I agree on both sides of the fence. There should be a little bit more of a guidepost of when and where to use that. I think there is a specific time and place for lump sum contracting, lump sum pricing, because there is a huge place for Xactimate a lot of the freaking times. Why? Because I understand it. Because I've taken the time to educate.
Resistance. Yep.
Correct. So half of the battle is the education of what you're doing. Being a student of your craft. Really knowing and learning that craft. Like, let's reel it back to lump sum contracting, lump sum pricing. There are ways in which to go about it that are positive. There's ways to go about it that are negative. I would say that most of the time, as we were saying earlier, I find it extremely hard for an insurance carrier to be able to pinpoint or say what they believe on a full scope.
Right.
Likewise, I don't believe they have that any clue. I really don't think they know which way is up, whereas it comes to the pricing. I think Xactimate's a good model. It's a good blueprint.
Right.
But blueprint is not the house. Okay. So you need more than just the blueprint. And I think that it's a very slippery slope for an insurance company to dictate pricing when back in the day they used to get 3 estimates and they used to pick the lowest or middle estimate out of those 3 because that was the fair market value or what they considered to be the fair market value pricing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leading somewhere with this. I'm not just kind of right. That was the plan back in the day,
right?
To find the fair market value price and to pay off of the median or lowest, depending upon what the client picked out of those.
Right.
Now, they did not dictate what a stick of gum cost. They did not dictate what a mailbox cost. Nor do they understand what it takes to put the mailbox in or what the decorative crap that you've decorated your federal mailbox that you can't remove anymore um, and so with that being said, they really I find it very, very slippery for them to start saying this is how much it costs for this loss. I
Right.
feel that it is the sole importance and right of the contractor and the homeowner, both,
Hmm.
to do their due diligence and find out what it really costs and what it is really going to take to replace what's damaged at their property.
Yeah.
Can you do that solely with Xactimate? No.
No.
You have to actually uh, do it line item for line item. Sometimes it has step flashings and stuff that step flashing is an Xactimate, but there's also other caulkings and
Oh, listen,
mansard roof.
you're
You've got a hand seal. Well, that's not in there. They also don't have in there for like when you're doing a mansard roof, the increased amount of labor, the increased amount of coordination and complexity that there is to that given job. Not everyone can do a mansard roof the proper way and it
correct.
not leak. So,
Well, yeah, and then let's talk about the materials, right? Is it a mansard shingle? Is it mansard metal?
let's just take mansard shingle, right?
Yeah. But so
Like there's so many things there. I just don't think that the insurance company at this time should be saying it cost $25,000 for this loss when uh, Daniel knows that it cost 50.
right. So
Right?
let me jump in here because I'm a huge advocate for Xactimate, and I'll tell you why. I have written 20, $30 million estimates in Xactimate that got paid, and they were more than sufficient for the jobs that they got paid on. Right. I've written $4,000 estimates that have gotten paid that are sufficient, but I've also taken the time to get certified in how to use that platform. Right. So everybody gets the Xactimate certification stuff kind of all discombobulated. All the Xactimate certification does for you is say that I know how to pick up this iPhone and use this iPhone. It does
Right.
not mean that I know how to do, if I'm using the calculator, it doesn't mean I know how to do trigonometry. Right. So we have 9 mastery level Xactimate people and one of 50 Xactimate certified trainers in the country here at Coastal. All that means is that they know how to use the platform. But what we also have here is we have 107 total people. There's probably 30 or 40 of us that are full GCs, have a GC license somewhere in a state, right? You can't have one without the other. I can't send an estimator who may be mastery level certified in Xactimate 250 pictures and be like, hey, write this for me if they don't know shit about means and methods, if they don't know shit about the proper structure of whatever it is that they're building. So you can't, and this is where when everybody starts bitching and saying, well, you can't use Xactimate pricing or the carrier's using Symbility, it doesn't matter what platform they're using. The argument really boils down to pricing and means and methods. So if you don't know those things, then how are you in a position to argue? And that's always my argument, because I know me personally, I can write a damn good Xactimate estimate within 5% of what you're going to charge for what you need. And I know it's a bold statement, but I have done it over and over and over and over again. There's contractors all over the country who have used me to write estimates. They've used Coastal to be their PAs. They've used me as whatever, who we do everything in Xactimate. And do we win every time? No. But I don't think that those things have to live exclusive to each other, right? That's my whole point. The lump sum pricing argument has it's we don't have a tool that does all of the things, but then in the same breath, the tools that we have all have a bandwidth as well. So if I'm using Xactimate as a tool, it's only as good as the data that I put into it. It's like going and buying a race car. It's only as good as the fuel I put into it. It's only as good as the mechanic that's putting the performance parts on the motor, right? Still got the car. It's an old fucking 78 Gremlin. It's ugly as shit. But we dropped a 350 with a supercharger in there. because I had the right people, right?
Right.
So everything that we talk about in our industry is resolved at the people level.
Yeah.
And people have to be willing to educate and grow themselves. And if you have the opportunity and you have knowledge that other people don't have, you have to be willing to educate and help others grow too.
Mm. Golden nuggets, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
If
a Facebook reel right there.
yeah, it's cutting and clipping. Kuwaish, you're watching this. Go ahead and clippy clip. Let's go. So I'm gonna come up with this time little snippet deal. It's gonna be a way in which to communicate with my editors while I'm live so
Right.
that they know at a later date to cut and clip during certain time periods.
Yeah.
And I've been
Every once
thinking
in a
about
while,
it.
somebody says something legit, and you want to make sure you're looking at the clock, going 44 minutes, and
So
trying to
yeah,
remember.
yeah. So it's a marker, so it'll just light up almost. Man, even a like I'm thinking about it, a laser would work, right? Like if I had a laser in my hand and I could just turn around and hit the back wall with the laser and then
Mhm.
hit it again whenever I'm ready,
Oh,
or just hit it once.
your little on-air light, just get a pedal that makes it flicker.
Ooh, that's
And,
good.
yeah,
That's good. I like that. I like that.
yeah, I like
So
that. That'd be really, because then it looks like the old school like neon flickering, and
yeah,
nobody would even know. It would almost just kind of aesthetically go into the show.
yeah.
Pretty subtle.
I love it. Um, so I like I really enjoyed the conversation about lump sum contracting. So a lot of people can sit there and strain at that and swallow camel. I think it's really important to have both. That's why I said that. I'm glad that we talked about it. And I did definitely want to touch on that. Um, let's talk about something that's kind of big, because I know we're getting kind of close to the end here. Licensing in Texas. Let's do licensing in states that don't require licensing. So I know recently Ohio had some legislator up. I don't know if that was passed. I don't think it was. So
I don't know either. I'm gonna have to look that one up because I'm not sure.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was passed or not. I know that it was kind of up there. I'm on the board for HARCA, working on RCAT
Mhm.
and then NCAT next, because I feel it's really important that you get involved on a cellular level. But these organizations, they have committees, like the government committee. They write legislation and they give that and they pitch that to the House, for us to have better regulation in the industry. And so one thing that pops up constantly is two trucks in a truck, contractors, having that issue, that stigma, that problem of being undercut or underbid from someone that isn't a business. Like we were talking about PAs, even
Oh yeah.
having somewhat of a deal with this as well, but largely attributed to the looseness of our laws in Texas and or in the nation. What do you think about licensing? You think it's important? Um, yeah, let's get
So
on that.
I think no matter what you do, there's always going to be the people that just by and large do not want to be held accountable, right? If we can start there, then we can build from there, right? Take Florida and Texas as good examples. Texas, very, very loose on their general contracting situations. The cities have some requirements. The permit offices have some requirements here, there, and whatever. Florida is the exact opposite. Super strict. I mean, to the point now that the new laws out here say even your subcontractors, it is now your responsibility to pull what's it called? The E-Verify, to E-Verify subcontractors. Right. So now that's yours. Even if you have a contracting company that does painting and I'm the GC, and I hire your company to do painting, I still have to e-verify all of your people now. Because I have to verify that you're on the up and up, not only just as a company, but that you've actually hired, because I'm the overall responsible party. So you have one end of the spectrum that's incredibly strict, incredibly hard to get your license. And then the other end, you have Texas that is just kind of like, yeah, if you guys, if you want to go buy some paintbrushes, it's fine. Right. So
yeah,
neither end of those spectrums, I think, are correct. I think that the reality is it needs to live somewhere in the middle, and that's PAs as well. I had a conversation literally yesterday with a woman, and I'm actually going to be doing her radio show next week. But she was like, hold on. Outside of Florida, you guys are capped at 10% in most states as PAs. And I said, yeah. And she said, why would you go work anywhere other than Florida? And I said, well, because the contracting laws are different in every other state. And we can get more work at 10% in other states as PAs than we can at 20% here. But what 20% does is it creates the barter system starts to come into place. Well, I'll do your project for 17.5. Well, he said 17, I'll do it for 15. And they ultimately end up at 10% anyway. Right. So I've always been an advocate for contracting licenses in the state of Texas, especially even probably more so after becoming a PA, because I would get jobs in from people who were really unqualified, but them and their buddies sat in the back seat of their truck and they're like, we should start a roofing company. It'll be amazing. And they do. They don't know shit about roofing. And they helped their dad for 2 summers when they were 15 nail shingles onto a roof. That's the experience that they have. And they're not, again, go back to education. They're not willing to educate themselves on how to actually run a business. I have a thing I call the sophomore curse. And I kind of put it in place in Texas. It's the first year after your roofing company makes $1 million that you are going to fuck up everything, or you're going to catapult into success. You're going to figure out that you need to be running a business, not just hanging out with your buddies. Right. So the sophomore curse in Texas is real. And we see it on the PA side because we get these guys who have these unrealistic expectations because somewhere along the line, they got one roof bought at $1,000 a square because they had the right adjuster on the right day. And they think that that's going to then be the norm. So then you start to get into this situation where they're pitching their services to homeowners, and then the support elements, whether it be PAs, whether it be, one of the other services, whether it's painting or gutters or window screens or whatever, landscaping, are coming in, and we're all falling victim to whatever bullshit that the contractor told the homeowner in the first place. I think there needs to be more strict laws in Texas, and I think they need to be a little bit more relaxed in Florida. And the rest of the country tends to follow Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
With the exception of Illinois, nobody knows what the hell's going on in Illinois. People in Illinois don't know what the hell's going on in Illinois.
Yeah.
You can be the PA and the contractor on the same job.
Yeah, I know.
Let's just throw everything out the window at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my God. Let's define conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Look at Chicago. Yeah. When 90, what is it? Some stupid ass statistic. It's like 90% of contractors in the state of Illinois are also public adjusters. Like it's something just absurd, right? Because every one of them says, well, I can't negotiate without hiring a PA, but if I am a PA, I can negotiate my own shit. That statistic might be isolated to Chicago. You know how
the best fucking mindset to employ. I don't know. Be the best at one or two good things. Like,
but at the same time,
find what you're good at.
Right. No, I'm with you. But if you took it away, if you're gonna allow them to do the same job, just don't even require them to be licensed.
If you're okay. Switching gears here. All right. We're getting to the end of the episode here. I want to kind of lighten it up a little bit and tell maybe like a small little joke. If you're looking for a relationship, become a roofer. Why?
I don't know.
You're bound to find hot shingles in your area. hot shingles in your area.
There's a billboard in Dallas that says that.
There's one here in Houston too.
Yeah.
Speaking of hot shingles, we are sponsored by Roofing Supply Incorporated in the Houston marketplace, where you can get your shingles from me. Telephone number is 210-919-8987. Also, if you're looking for an amazing public adjuster, West Group Public Adjusting is the way to go.
Shout out to
210-919-8987. Either way that you need a PA, you need your shingles, you give me a call, 210-919-8987, and I will hook you up. Daniel, it has been a pleasure having you on today. Thank you so much for giving us an amazing educational experience.
Look, it's just my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right.
Thank you so much. If you have been watching, you are the real awesome person here because you're the one that's following along. So, hey, do me a favor, like and subscribe. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. Subscribe, like us on all of those platforms. And guess what? We will see you in the next video, which will be Friday. Again, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Have a
wonderful day, guys.